See, when you're ahead of the other people and you're in front, they typically call you the front runner. So Joe Biden is no longer the front runner. A self-described Democrat socialist is the front runner. And again, James Carville says, I am scared to death.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here for Bernie Sanders being the nominee. A lot of people compare him to Jeremy Corbyn. I say he might be closer to Lopez Obrador in Mexico, somebody who manages to get into power because the existing parties have so disappointed everybody. People are disgusted with Democrats. They don't trust Republicans. They go for Bernie. Do you think that is a path to victory if he makes that argument?
Why do I think people are disgusted with Democrats? We had the highest turnout in 2018 since women were granted the right to vote. We had the biggest margin. We ran a smart campaign, and it worked. All right? It matters who the candidate is. It matters what a party chooses to talk about. I mean, I'm 75 years old. Why am I here doing this? Because I am scared to death. That's why. And we got to let's get relevant here, people, for sure.
Bernie Sanders is not happy that James Carville said, I'm scared to death.
James Carville, who's obviously a longtime Clinton loyalist, was supporting Senator Michael Bennet, who obviously dropped out of the primary race last night. He said this week that core Democratic voters aren't interested in being...
Hey, Bennet dropped out. Who knew? ...in
what he said a cult. He said they're not interested in socialism and revolution and other things he called foolishness, and that, quote, I don't know how you win an election, 78 years old, screaming in a microphone about the revolution. I don't know if he was actually screaming at the time, although it's very possible, knowing James. But so I want to give you a chance to respond.
Look, James, in all due respect, is a political hack who said very terrible things when he was working for Clinton against Barack Obama. I think he said some of the same things. Look, we are taking on the establishment. This is no secret to anybody. We're taking on the wall. I guess the former head of Goldman Sachs attacked me yesterday.
Yeah, he had
We're
some
taking on Wall Street. He did, yeah, Wall Street. And the insurance companies don't like me. And you know what? The pharmaceutical industry, which is charging us 10 times more for the same drugs they sell in Canada, they don't like me either. Nor does the fossil fuel industry, because their product happens to be destroying our planet. Nor does the military-industrial complex or the prison-industrial complex. We are taking on Trump, the Republican establishment, Carville, and the Democratic establishment. But at the end of the day, the grassroots movement that we are putting together of young people, of working people, of people of color, want real change.
But you know...
And they want us to take...
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, though, it's not all, just establishment folks who have a vested interest. I mean, there are, American citizens who, went out to vote in New Hampshire and voted for Klobuchar or voted for Buttigieg or in some cases Biden, who just feel like revolution is, it's just too much. They maybe like their plans. They don't want their insurance taken away for something else in government hands they don't have, any idea about.
A former Clinton advisor named Richard Goldstein says, don't call Bernie Sanders the front runner.
So there are two groups of people that talk about Bernie Sanders being front runner. One are Bernie Sanders supporters. Two are people who engage in wishful thinking, hoping that he'll be the front runner and the eventual nominee because they know what a weak general election candidate he'll be. I don't know where, since you declared him a front runner, I don't know which category you're in, but I'm just saying that's it. And let me just say, 4 years ago at this exact
point... I'm a math guy, actually. That's why I say that.
4 years ago...
I'm looking at the numbers.
4 years ago at this precise time, right after New Hampshire, Bernie was actually up 4 delegates. He's now down to Buttigieg. So, again, you have to accept what I'm saying. He's not the front runner, other than in people's imagination.
The Hill, today, 2013-20. Headline, Sanders builds double-digit national lead in poll. I think it makes him a front-runner. Now, Imogen Bahiga, oh, by the way, Sanders says he's going to win South Carolina.
Anderson, in my view, the American people want a government, finally, that represents all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors and the billionaire class. And that is why we're going to win in South Carolina, in Nevada, and we're going to beat Donald Trump.
Now, Imogen Bahiga, covering the New Hampshire primary, walked up to a voter and said, hey, what do you think? And here's what they got.
I don't see it as plausible, but I want to talk to, we have a voter out here. Sir, you were watching, so you're going to be on television now. Can you tell us who you voted for?
Donald John Trump.
You voted for Donald John Trump?
Yeah.
Look at that. Bernie Sanders is not appealing to you?
The whole ideology would be destructive to the country. It's anti-growth. It's anti-family. It's anti-American. And as a Roman Catholic, it's anti-life.
Aside from that, a protester grabbed a mic at a Mike Bloomberg event.
My breath. I am that excited.
That is not democracy. That is plutocracy.
That is not democracy, that is plutocracy. You can't buy your way into the nomination, she said. Mike Bloomberg, however, bills himself as the un-Trump.
Even though Donald and I are both from New York, the truth is we could not be more different. In fact, I bill myself as the un-Trump, because this election is too important for our party to have the kind of divisions we saw back in 2016.
Now, in the wake of that new recording about stop and frisk, Bloomberg has issued a second apology. Here's what Fox News' Harris Faulkner said about it.
There is new controversy now over an audio clip of Michael Bloomberg praising stop and frisk policies that were his. The former New York City mayor has apologized and issued a statement again, this happened yesterday, saying he regrets that support. But it has not silenced the criticism from prominent Democrats. New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries says it's clear that lives were damaged as a result of stop and frisk. Bernie Sanders' campaign calling for Bloomberg to drop out of the presidential race, saying the recording exposes his true nature and an apology isn't enough. And this from New York Congressman Gregory Meeks.
I don't think that this is going to work this time. I think that African-American voters, they're going to look and they're going to determine who's the best person to beat Donald Trump, who has the policy that benefit them.
Sanders says if we get shafted again, it's going to be a problem, although he didn't say it quite that way.
I'm curious